Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. First of all, Happy New Year. I hope that you had a wonderful time with your family, with your friends during those holidays. This video we are going to take a look at how we can create a 3D carousel in React Native. I was inspired by Deviani. She created this beautiful 3D carousel. And I'll show you my way of doing it in React Native by using the FlatList, Animated API and vector icons. I'm going to teach you how to disable the buttons, the next and the previous button, based on the active slide. In order to do this, we actually need to extract what's the actual index from the flat list, plus how to animate and do this 3D effect and apply it to the carousel. So lots of things to learn from this tutorial. So let's play the intro, jump straight into VS Code and start building this 3D carousel. Shall we? Alrighty guys, so we are in VS Code here. I've already created a project using Expo and I also added a couple of components. The link to the starter code, or what I'm going to present to you now, it's down in the description. You can go ahead, grab it, add it in your IDE and we'll have the same starter point. So let me walk you through what we have so far. We have here some imports from vector icons, safe area view and React Native, sizes for the image that we are going to display inside the carousel, couple of images grabbed from pixels, and we are going to create the data to feed the flat list using Faker. So basically for each image I'm returning a key, an image, a title, subtitle and a price. Down below I have a component called content that's receiving the item from the flat list and is displaying the title, the description and the price. And in the main render I have a flat list which is a horizontal flat list that's going to display only the images. And it's horizontal and we have paging enabled, and each slide is basically the width of the screen. And here is the render for the render item. It's a view containing an image, and down below as a sibling I have a view containing the title. Basically I'm rendering the content, the title, description and the price, and I'm passing only the first item as the data for the content. Afterwards we have another view which is the white rectangle here, and I'm applying some shadow, color and opacity here. And last we have the pagination with the previous and the next button. The buttons now they are not doing anything, so the on press is just a dummy handler or no op function. First thing that I would like to do is to change the behavior of those images inside the carousel. And in order to do that, we first need to change the flat list to be an animated flat list and get the scrollX, interpolate it and play around and make some animations. So first thing, convert this flat list to be an animated flat list. And onScroll event is going to be an animated event. We will grab from native event the content offset, the X, and assign it to scrollX, and in our case we'll use the native driver. Now let's create the scrollX variable here. So const scrollX, it's a React useRef, a new animated value starting from 0, get the current. I'm using useRef because I would like React to keep track of the animations and the values. So whenever this component is going to be re-rendered, the scrollX or the value is going to be remain the same during the component lifecycle. So cool, nothing should change, right? But now we have the scrollX assigned as an animated value and we can interpolate it and make some animations. So inside the render item, create the input range. So input range is going to be index -1 multiplied by the width, index multiplied by the width, and index +1. Basically, this is next, current, and previous slide. What will happen with the interpolation based on this range? So now we can create the opacity. Opacity is going to be scrollX interpolated. So we'll interpolate, pass this input range, and for the output range we'll have 0, 1, and 0. And now if we convert this view to be an animated view and pass the opacity as a style here, you'll notice that now it's 1 because it's the active slide. And now if we move it, it's going to change its opacity. And the last thing, I would like to also move the Y position based on the active slide. So if I copy the opacity interpolation and assign it to translate Y, keep the same input range, but the output range is going to be different. So you'll have 50, 0, and 20. Basically, what I'm saying is start at 50 pixels, move to 0, and then to 20. So we'll create this simple wave and pass this to the transform translate Y. So now we will start from 50, right? 50, 0, and then 20. All right, so we have this movement for each individual slide within the flat list. And now the next part is to actually animate the white rectangle, so it's going to rotate 3D. So this is the content that the view that we are going to modify. But first I would like to have the input range between 0 and 1. So now it's going to be 0, 0.5, 1. Now it's 0, 0.5, 1, and so on and so forth. And in order to do that, we need to create at the top here a variable called progress, let's say. And we will use the methods divide and modulo from animated in order to modify or to get the values between 0 and 1. So we'll have here an animate divide. We'll divide the scrollX by the width. So basically this will say it's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and so on, but we would like to clamp it to be only 0 and 1. So the value from this division, we can do a modulo division and modulo width. So basically we'll have 0 and 1, 0 and 1, 0 and 1, and so on. So with this progress, we can go ahead here at the view where we have this white rectangle, convert this into an animated view, and pass here an opacity, or actually a transform. We will need to add a perspective. So perspective is going to be image width multiplied by 4, and rotate Y. And here we'll interpolate the progress. The input range, as I said, it's going to be 0, 0.5, and 1. We need also the middle of the animation. So now it's 0, 0.5, and 1. So basically here I would like to be at 90 degrees, now at 0 degrees, 90 degrees, 180 degrees, right? So the input range is 0, 0.5, and 1, but the output range is going to be 0 degrees, 90 degrees, and 180 degrees. So hit save now, and you'll notice that the white container is going to move, right? Hop, hop, hop. Okay. Notice this bug, this weird bug, is because of the perspective, and in order to fix this, we need to go above the flat list and pass as a style a z-index, a really big one. So it's going to sit on top of this image. And now if we move this, we have a nice rotation. Cool. Now the missing part is to actually animate the content. And now, because we are rendering only the initial data, or always the same data, we need to map it. So we'll have here a data map. We'll get the item and the index, and we'll return a view containing this content. So, but instead of hard coding the data to be the first item or the first item from the collection, we'll pass directly the item, and also don't forget to pass the key, so item key. And now hit save, so we have all the data here. The first thing, let's modify the styles just a little. So we'll position this absolute. So positioning this absolute, everything will be sitting on top of each other, so it's going to create this stack effect. And we need to apply different animations. So first we'll need an opacity, then we'll need a rotation as well, right? So here, let's create an input range. So input range is going to be basically the same. So index -1 multiplied by the width, index multiplied by the width, and index +1 multiplied by the width. Basically, I'm multiplying by the width because each slide it has the sizes, the width it's equal to the screen width. So that's why I'm multiplying it by the width. And having this input range, we can interpolate again the scroll X. We'll interpolate it, pass the same input range, and the output range for it is going to be 0, 1, and 0. So basically, if it's active slide, it's 1, otherwise it's 0. So opacity, and apply here the opacity. Before saving it, don't forget to convert this view into an animated view. Otherwise, this will throw an error. So you see this error. You cannot just pass an animated value to a regular or to a normal view. You need to convert this into an animated view. So let me convert this view to be an animated view. Now hit save. And now we'll have this animation. Notice this weird bug. You see it's like because of the perspective for this rotation, we also need to apply a bigger z-index to the content itself. So above here where we have the main view that contains all the content, pass a z-index of 99. Hit save, and now this text should sit on top of the rotated rectangle. But the animation itself, it's really is not there yet, right? And the reason for that is because we are changing the opacity from index to index, but we would like to move it from 20%. So now I would like to have opacity 0, right? So we need to move faster than the slider itself. And in order to do that, we can change the input range to be, instead of index -1, to be index -0.2 and index +0.2. Basically, this is saying move 20% before the actual index. So we will make this animation even faster. So now it should be at 0, right? Not before the middle of the animation, and so on and so forth, right? So it's going to happen even faster than the actual index here. So now that we have the input range, we can also play around with the rotation itself. So rotate Y, it's going to be scroll X, interpolate it, have the same input range, and the output range is going to be 90 degrees, 0 degrees, and 90 degrees. And apply this transform. We'll have a perspective of image width multiplied by 4, and we'll also have a rotate Y. So we move this. Okay, so I think that the 90 degrees is too much, maybe 45 degrees. So now it should happen pretty decent, I would say. All right. The missing part from this tutorial is to actually call some imperative methods on the flat list while clicking on the previous and the next. So In order to do that, we need to first get the index of the active slide from the flat list and call some imperative methods on the flat list. So first thing I would like to create here at the top is a state. So we'll have an index and the set index, which is a React useState, and we'll start from 0. Now inside the flat list, I'm going to use onMomentumScrollEnd, get the event. Basically, this onMomentumScrollEnd is going to give me back the position of the flat list when the animation is finished. So now it's going to give me. And based on this event, we can calculate what is the active index. So we'll set the index with the event, native event content offset, and x. So basically this is the value where the flat list is situated on the x axis, but we need to divide this by the width of the screen, basically the carousel or the slide item width, and do a math floor to have this rounded. So now if I'll do a console log index and open up the console here, you see initially is going to be index 0. Now I move, the animation has finished. We calculate the index and the index is 1. It's finished, and it's working both ways. And this is how you actually can get the active index from flat list based on the scroll X or the X position. And with this index, we can disable the next and previous buttons initially, right? So if I scroll down here, with this onPress, we can say if is disabled for the previous is disabled when index is equal to 0. And we can also apply some opacity. So if index is equal to 0, 0.2, otherwise 1. So if it's initially, I like to make this 0.2 opacity and disable the button. And do the same thing for the next. So, but instead of index is equal to 0, we need to check if index is equal to data length minus 1. So let me copy this one. So if you are at the end, next button should be disabled. If you are on the first slide, previous button should be disabled. And now the onPress, for the onPress, we need to get the ref for the flat list and call an imperative method. So go above here where we've created the state and create a ref. A ref is equal to a React use ref. Apply this ref, assign this ref to the flat list ref. And now when you press the button, the onPress here, if you are, let's start with the next one because it's simpler. While pressing the next button, I would like to scroll to a particular offset. So it's going to be ref current. Notice the question mark here. Maybe we will not have the ref, scroll to offset. So basically it's saying call scroll to offset if you have ref and current. So here scroll to offset accepts two different arguments. One is the offset, and in our case is going to be the next slide. So it's index plus 1 multiplied by the width, and we'll animate it. So the next slide is going to be index plus 1 multiplied by the width, because each slide has screen width as the width, right? So now if I hit save, this should go to the next. You see it's pretty much like instead of swiping, you can directly call some scroll to offset with a particular offset. This one is going to animate it. And notice if you are at the last slide, the next button is going to be disabled. So now let's do the same thing for the previous one, but instead of index +1, we do index -1. Hit save now, and we are at the next, previous. Previous is disabled, so it's not going to work. Alrighty guys, so that was it. Thank you so much for staying so long with me. I hope that you've learned something new. You've learned how to get the active index from the flat list. You also learned how to create some navigation system for your animated flat list and call scrollToOffset on the flat list in order to dynamically move from a slide to another, and how to actually create this 3D effect in React Native using just animated API and flat list. Don't forget to subscribe, smash the like button if you like this video. Other than that, see you in the next video. Thank you so much and bye bye guys.